Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream, and I am going to do your Just for Today in a meditation for July the 12th. I hope you're doing well this morning. I am having a beautiful morning, excited to be up and awake and conscientious of the things that my 11th step has given me to do. I'm really grateful for you. So let's go ahead and get into that meditation. All right, what do we have here? Okay. Um, Patience. Here we go. The title of today's meditation, just for today, July the 12th, is Patience. We were trapped by our need for the instant gratification that drugs gave us. That comes from the basic text, page 25. I want what I want and I want it now. That's about as patient as most of us ever got in our active addiction. The obsession and compulsion of our disease gave us a one-track way of thinking. When we wanted something, that's all we thought about. And the drugs we took taught us that instant gratification was never more than a dose away. It's no wonder that most of us came to Narcotics Anonymous with next to no patience. The problem is we can't always get what we want whenever we want it. Some of our wishes are pure fantasy. If we think about it, we'll realize we have no reason to believe those wishes will be fulfilled in our lifetimes. We probably can't even fulfill all our realistic desires. We certainly can't fulfill them all at once. In order to acquire or achieve some things, we will have to sacrifice others. In our addiction, we saw instant gratification, squandering our resources. In recovery, we must learn to prioritize, sometimes denying the gratification of some desires in order to fulfill more important long-term goals. To do so requires patience. To find that patience, we practice our program of recovery, seeking the kind of full-bodied spiritual awakening that will allow us to live and enjoy life on life's terms. Just for today, higher power, help me discover what's most important in my life. Help me learn patience, that I can devote my resources to the important things. Whoa. Well, then, let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer, and spend a little time after that talking about this. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Well, you know what, guys? I know you can tell by the sound of my voice. I was not expecting all of that in so little of this. I mean, to look at this meditation, it looks like it's few words. It's going to be a quick breeze through. And just the concept of keeping it simple and the big things coming in small packages is hitting me. This meditation is powerful, July 12th on patience, and this is one that you need to screenshot and send to your friends. You need to let, even if they're not in recovery, they can benefit from this one because we talk about patience, but what we know about patience is very little. Patience is the ability, this is in my mind, it may have been written somewhere else, but if it is, I don't know where I got it from. I was taught that patience is the ability to wait quietly without complaining. So, in other words, I am waiting on something And I'm not throwing a hissy fit the whole way through while I'm waiting. I'm not making life miserable for other people around me because I'm angry that I have to wait. Patience is a spiritual principle that I believe is a gift. Some people have it naturally and others don't. The majority of us in recovery did not come by patience easily. It was something we had to learn and be taught how to have as a result of this program, right? We had to be patient to get to the 12th step. Some people have been around the program for years and have only gone so far in their step work, and they're learning how to apply the spiritual principles of all the other steps they've worked. Because sometimes we relapse, right? We relapse mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And when those relapses come, we have to pick ourselves back up again. We have to allow ourselves to be taught by those circumstances. We can't just lay there in the ground and say, oh, I've fallen. No, we can't just lay there. We have to get up and we have to say, okay, what's the lesson behind that I need to learn? What is the lesson? And store it in our brains so that we can use that information in the future. A lot of our stumbling, a lot of our spiritual relapses, even physical, are a part of the process we individually need. Apparently so, because we wouldn't be going through them. We individually need them so that we can improve the quality of our recovery. That takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. If you are an individual, for instance, you want to be a married man or woman, right? You want a family, but you are lustful. You're a cheat and you know it. You don't have the ability to keep your eyes off of anyone. You could have the finest female on your arm or the most handsome man on your arm, and you are going to find a way to twist your neck to look at someone else. You have lust in your heart, and you're not a person that is faithful mentally, yet you want to marry someone. Now, if it's an open marriage, that's up to you, but typically people don't get married to someone so that they can cheat, right? But some people go into marriages already cheating. They weren't faithful on the day that they said, I do. Okay, so what's the point? The point is that sometimes the thing that we envision, the thing that we want, the desire that we have, it's realistic enough, right? I'm looking specifically at this paragraph. Let me highlight this one, right? It is definite enough. We know what we want and it is attainable, but it's not attainable without some work. There is no way I could take my lustful self into a marriage and expect that in the I do, if I'm still of that mindset, that I can look and have whatever I want, including my to be mate, then 9 times out of 10, I'm going to continue to cheat within the marriage. What does that do? So I'm not really being faithful, and I have all of these other people that I'm intimate with. How in the world can I be intimate with my husband, have a relationship with my husband, and I have all of these other people that I am also spiritually, mentally, and physically attached to? So I'm not just marrying my husband. I'm a person that has basically, in a sense, many people that I'm intimate with, right? But I wonder why we're having problems. I wonder why we can't get along, why it isn't, when we're intimate, what it used to be, or if it ever was anything, right? I'm wondering why he's disconnected or she's disconnected. I'm trying to bring my own past experience, right? My own past experience. Because the husband I have now, I'm faithful to, right? The husband I'm with now, I am faithful to. You can't sway me from this man. The only thing that can sway me is when I decide I don't want to be in it anymore. But I was not always faithful. I have a husband that I ruined being unfaithful. But I came into the marriage with a cheating heart. I came into the marriage. And I was hoping that this was my hope shot to clean myself up. And I was already not using drugs. But as I told you before, I spent many years with that same dirty mindset. I ruined this man with that. And so I'm talking from my own experience. I'm not making up something for you. This is my experience. So there's no way that what I wanted was this beautiful home, white picket fence, a family, a whole bunch of children. But realistically, there was no way possible that that could be fulfilled because I hadn't done the work that needed to go into that. It took many years for me to become marriage material. So the point is that having patience sometimes is a work in progress. That end goal that you have is a work in progress. We have realistic desires and we have unrealistic. I have a realistic desire, right, to write a book and have it published, to see my books at Barnes and Nobles or in some Christian bookstore, right? I have a desire to see what I've written with its name on it published. I've always had it. It's realistic, but if I don't do the work for it, it's not going to happen. So that means that if that is important to me, and I'm at this age, and realistically, I may live another 30 years. If I intend to attain that goal, then that means there's some things on my plate that have to go. And that is what this paragraph is talking about. It's talking about the fact that we squandered our resources. We took what we had and we used it for instant gratification. And as a result of that, because we learned through drugs that I can make all of this go away if I just get high. You want to talk about dopamine, you want to talk about releasing some chemical in my body that is going to make me suddenly feel euphoric. Yes, I'm going to chase that. That's what we used to do. But today we're clean, and that's not an option. I mean, it's an option, but you wouldn't be listening if it was really what you wanted to do, right? So I'm assuming you're listening and you have a desire to stay clean. So here we are in this paragraph. We're talking about prioritize. So let's go back to the book. If there's something that I want done, if I want this book published, and it is a realistic desire, there's some things that I have to change. There's some absolute things that I have to change. I cannot squander. Being published is not going to be inexpensive. It's going to cost money to produce the manuscript. It's going to cost money to hire the editor. Even if I self-publish, it's still going to require some finances to be able to put it into practice. I can use Create Space. I could do a ton of different things to get my book published. I even actually have purchased all of my own cutting material to produce, right? Thermal equipment. I have around here all of the things that I possibly could need to produce a small book. But that's not enough for me. That's not what I want. So it's going to take a little bit more investment, a few more resources in order to attain that goal. Now listen carefully. Without being realistic about, without having some patience, without being willing to prioritize what is important for me to do and what is not, what goals do I have on my table? Because it's telling me clearly I can attain some of this stuff. I just can't attain it all at once. What are some things I can let go so that I can do like I did today? Wake up at 3 in the morning and have some time to work on my book, put things in place, even before I do the podcast, because the podcast, both of them are important to me. But right now, there's something else brewing that's on my mind that I want to do. So I have to prioritize. Let me tell you what that looks like for me, and then I'll let you go. That looks like for me that I have to go to bed earlier so that I can get up and be refreshed and ready to go at 3 in the morning. The best times in my life have been when I would wake up without fail, 3 a.m. in the morning, spend time doing my 11th step through prayer and meditation, right? Maintaining conscious contact with God. When I do my 11th step, I suddenly feel energized because I'm receiving knowledge of God's will for me and the power to carry that out. I suddenly feel energized by 4:15 to move on to the next thing, right? That means that I can do the podcast earlier. That means that I can be done with the podcast by 5:30 in the morning. And then I can move on to what I need to do for my physical health, which is to exercise. And I can be done with that by 6:30. So I'm prioritizing my time, but I must get some rest, right? And so you have to go through your own day. You have to go through your own life. You have to figure out what are, let's say maybe one, two, stretching it three. What are your top three things in your life that you want to do? If it's going back to school, not picking up the phone and not going to the college to figure out what you need to do to enroll is not going to work. If it's going back to school, you need to put that in motion. Stop procrastinating and get up and go do it. If it's start your own business, you need to go down to your county clerk's office and register your business name, because if your business name is the same as someone else's, guess what? You're not going to be able to use it. So you need to run that business name through them, get your doing business as, and start doing business in that name instead of your personal name, if that's what you want to do. There's things that you have to start doing to attain those goals. Talking about them, wishing for them is not going to make them come any more quickly. What will help them to come to you is making sure that one is God's will, your step 11, right? Step 3 and 11, actually, right? And then moving on with the plan, the action behind it, and having patience. It will come to pass. It may not be the type of thing that's going to happen in a year, but if you continue to put forth effort, man, I can't tell you how blessed I am by this podcast. I can't tell you what it does for me to be able to process these meditations with you. It means the world to me. There's people all over the world that are emailing me or leaving me comments or letting me know that this information now is in the treatment centers. We're using this particular podcast to help us get through our daily meditation using the Just for Today NA book or the other one. right? I could add the other fellowship if I wanted to, but these two are plenty for me on this topic, right, of recovery. To find out that that's what's going on, and all it took was one person to listen and say, you know what? I like this. I think this is something my staff could use when they're working with people in recovery, when they're doing their groups. I just want to say, if that's you out there, whoever you are, I just want to let you know I appreciate that. My numbers are going up, and I'm sure it has a lot to do with you sharing this information. I want for you all to make sure that you have a beautiful day on purpose, that you understand that patience is such a beautiful spiritual principle. We don't get it overnight. It comes by flexing the muscle of having to be patient. So that means that things are going to come up and you're going to get an opportunity to figure out if you're patient or not. And then you're going to have an opportunity to practice patience. And you're going to find out just how far you'll go with patience. I mean, you'll do good for a day of waiting and not complaining, making everyone miserable. You might get through day two, but what about day three? You're still waiting for that thing that you say is important to you. But on day three, now the world all of a sudden knows how tired of waiting you are. You're miserable and everyone around you is miserable. My goodness, back to the drawing board. That's not patience. That's a form of patience, but that's not patience. That's a depth of patience, but it's not deep patience, right? It's superficial. Some of the character defects that still allow you to go off at the mouth in earshot of people that actually don't know that you're like that is proof in and of itself that we still got work to do, right? Hey, listen, my name is Mighty Stream. Let me go back to that. My name is Mighty Stream, and I've enjoyed talking to you. I want for you to have a beautiful day on purpose. I intend to, and I will be talking to you tomorrow. Thank you for listening.